Welcome to Muse in Tech podcast. Hello and welcome to Muse in Tech podcast. I'm your host Delia and I'm so grateful you are here listening our episode. This podcast is a space where dreams meet action, where real stories turn into real inspiration. Every week, or at least time to time, we connect with incredible women who choose to step forward, embrace technology, and build careers and lives on their own terms. It's not always easy, but it's always possible when you start, when you believe, and when you surround yourself with the right energy and discipline to take small steps every day. I'm so happy to introduce you with today's guest, Kotryna Kurt, who is international speaker, entrepreneur, and ex-board member of leading sales association. She founded a successful consulting firm, Linkedist, and now propelling AQ22, an AI for private credit towards global growth. With a proven record of guiding marketing and sales teams to success, Kotryna inspires organizations to excel, innovate, and thrive. Kotryna, I'm so excited to have you here today. Welcome to Muse in Tech podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. And let's start with a small and not spicy thing, but a quite cozy thing. What's something people don't usually know about you?
There's probably a bunch of different things that people can answer to this question, but I think the thing that most people don't know about me is that I'm truly a nature person and I can spend a lot of time just picking mushrooms or doing any kind of other nature surrounded activities. That's totally non tech of me.
Wow, that is quite unexpected, I think so. But these little things truly reveal so much about who we are usually. So, speaking about the beginnings, let's dive. How did your career journey start?
So my career, my real career, as I call it, because everything else before that was kind of like small jobs here and there, started in my bachelor years. I was living in Denmark and I also had some smaller work that was non-tech related. But then a couple of years in, I got a job at a tech IT company called Time Extender. And that's where I really started working with different IT products that they were selling, scaling. The whole company was a scale up, so it was growing very fast. And that's kind of what really started off my career within tech, where I got to touch both the marketing, the sales, partners, events, you name it, like everything that the scale up can offer. So that was the very beginning. But even prior to that, I also tried to build my first company when I was 19 in Denmark. And that business was more of a physical one with an e-shop. It did not succeed. I learned a bunch, but it was a great start to slowly starting to understand like how businesses are run.
So you used to live in Denmark, correct?
Indeed. Yeah.
So when you come back to Lithuania?
Just a couple of years ago, actually, I lived in Denmark for almost a decade. So it's been many years.
How many languages do you know?
Five.
This is, I think, just European countries can learn that many languages. I think so.
It's definitely a unique thing that we do when we're jumping around the different countries.
Amazing. And it's truly powerful. And when you look back at your journey, we still have roadmap when we start and where we are today. What the key life moments or realization help you to get where you are today?
I think like the fact that I tested a lot during the jobs that I had, and even with certain failures and specific situations where things did not go well, I would still take that into as a piece of advice for myself and would think already what I could do better next time. And then, really early on, for example, spotting an opportunity that could turn into a business, like what's happened with Linkedist and hopefully with future projects as well, was what drove me all those years to do extra and to do more, to learn a lot from people that I surrounded myself with, and just be curious. Think this is like one of the top qualities that you can find in people is just curiosity and openness about many different topics that you have no clue about. I remember like for the first half a year working at a company, and now I can say that because I'm not working there anymore. But working at that company, I had no clue what I'm selling, what I'm marketing. I think the product was so difficult to understand and so complex that it took me half a year, and then suddenly everything clicked. So until you're ready to stay curious, I think that's like the best thing that you can do in the beginning of your career, especially.
It sounds like coding in the beginning, like a magic black box. After half a year, you just unpack that and suddenly just click like this.
Exactly.
But it doesn't sound that attractive how you said.
No, it takes a
Okay.
while.
I believe that sometimes that those big movements or the moments come with a lot of internal challenges. And I would love to ask, have you ever felt or have you ever faced self-doubt or imposter syndrome?
Of course, I think like it's super natural. I think it comes to every single person, no matter if you see like the president of some country or any other, very successful entrepreneur. They all have went through doubts and imposter syndrome because it doesn't matter what you do, you will always have some thoughts lingering because you're just, hypothesizing of different scenarios and what could happen. So definitely, like in those moments, you have to stay strong and have to remember why you're doing this and what's the real reason behind all your effort. I think that helps you move forward. And at the end of the day, the biggest motivation should come from within, from you, because if the motivation comes from external sources, it's easy to kind of give away to these doubts and to these challenges because there will be plenty. So, no matter you're choosing an entrepreneurship route or a career route within a specific business, you will always face some challenges. Again, resilience is the only way to kind of find that motivation from within.
Okay, I have two extra more questions now.
Sure.
I'm getting more curious. Do you have any exercise when you're talking with yourself? Because we all do that. So, do you have any secret exercise how you supposed to get rid of that self doubt?
Sometimes, just like going out and talking with other people who are in a similar boat helps a lot because you get to understand that, hey, it's not only me, but it's, a lot of people and everybody feels very similarly no matter where they are. So that really kind of puts things into perspective because you often see other people as non struggling at all. So that's like kind of a good practice and good exercise that I do. And I think when I went to live in San Francisco last year and then this year in New York, it's been very eye opening just to kind of see those people there and see that, hey, I mean, they're just like me, because you idealize a lot. Like you see that, hey, there must be something else over there. Like those people are way more smart than me. But at the end of the day, it's much more similar than you can imagine. And that gives you strength when you're doubting yourself. That's the exercise that I do.
Quite nice, and I think it helps to realize that you're not only one in the whole world have the same thoughts. I'm using that exercise as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
About the resilient, I'm just curious. I know that we didn't born quite strong or resilient. How you can identify, for example, when time goes, how you was in the beginning and how you increase your resilience at the moment.
I think for me personally, and I guess this differs from person to person, how I measure the resilience is that I take a look at what used to be a problem for me a year ago. Would that problem still trigger me or like influence me in any way? And that's the easiest way for me to measure it because most of the times the issues and problems what which I had like a year ago, 2 years ago, seems so minuscule, so small today, that I understand that, okay, now my resilience is much stronger and bigger, and I can take bigger problems, and I build that character. So that's the easiest way for me to measure.
And as I know that we can identify a person according how big problems he can solve.
Exactly, exactly. But also a good thing to remember is that every person's problems, no matter how big or small they look to you, they're exactly as big as yours to them.
And painful. Yeah, the painful level I think is the same.
Yes, yes.
And thank you for honest answer. And that's something so who we can relate to. And when those moments came up for you, what helped you to keep moving through difficult times?
I probably would say it's kind of similar to what I said before about the motivation within. That truly helps in the difficult times. But then also, besides that, I would say having the support system around you, either if that's your family members, your closed ones, or for friends, or I even have like a business friends circle, which means that I have certain people that I probably don't go to with my personal problems. But if I have some kind of problems or questions or challenges within my work, I go to those people and I can rely on them and I can ask them for an honest opinion without being scared that they will tell that to anybody or that will go out somehow. So I think like having that business friends circle is also very healthy.
And I believe that this is the very powerful message for our listeners because we all have to have the support system on which we can rely when the problems appear. And for women who just starting their journey, what would be the very first step that you would recommend?
I think it would be good to first of all try to assess your wants yourself as a person without like jumping right into the next position and kind of seeing what's trendy, but rather trying to understand what is it that you as a person, what drives you. I often ask this question in job interviews that I do. I just simply want to know what makes a person happy when they do that specific task. What is that task? Does the structure make you happy, or do you like to have like a much more of flexibility? So answering those questions to yourself is like a good practice to start shifting towards that next step in your career. And then once you've answered questions about yourself, it would be also good to ask yourself the other side of the questions, which is like, where do I want to work? What's my perfect employee look like? Or employer look like, what I would like to have from them, what are my expectations, and so forth. And I think then once you did this exercise, it's a very healthy way to look for the next step. And then you're ready because you're coming to everybody being determined because you have answered those questions for yourself.
It sounds simple.
Yes.
Some questions I think that even at the moment I can't answer for myself.
But that's why we all need to first do some self reflection and some analysis, just to kind of make sure that we're setting the good base for the future.
I believe that it's a never ending
It is not.
journey.
It is not.
I just give up, and it's like yesterday or a few days ago, I just hear kind of sentence which we as a Lithuanians know. If you do something new, so it means that you're young. Something like this, I would
Yes,
translate. And then I'm just thinking, then I will never be old then.
exactly. Because if you're curious, you will always find new things to do, right?
Do you imagine it's kind of the world is that big that it's never ending process, and you probably if you keep that message as a core, so you will never be old.
Exactly.
So thank you for your answer. And for those who's looking to earn online, do you have any advice or suggestion how they can start, or from where they can start, and where they can go deeper, and maybe any platforms to recommend, or
Mhm.
according to your experience?
I think like most of the times when it comes to new ideas or like earning online, it all comes down to understanding initially what people need. A lot of the times, and especially now, when you want to start out, you have so many tools and automations and everything else to help you that starting out is not a problem anymore. Actually, the idea and like what you want to build, that sometimes becomes the bigger issue than rather, finding the tools, because especially with AI models you get a lot of recommendations and you can build a website in a day with Lovable, and there's so many other things that you can do. But truly to find what people would pay for, what people would use, that's the difficult part. And I think most of the times the best way is to look into your own experience, or at least into what other passions or hobbies do you have, besides what you worked with, because that's where then you have a little bit of insider information and you can start out with some ideas. As in regards to tools, I think like probably ChatGPT is better than my recommendation. But like if you want to freelance or test an idea on a service, there's always platforms like Fiverr where you can easily sign up and suggest your services. If you want to test your product or your product idea, then again you can set it up even if you don't have a product in a couple of days with tools like, again, Lovable, Zyro, or others, but let's not give them too much promotion here. And you don't have to have anything these days. You can have zero product, just an idea, and you can run a couple of Facebook ads and see if people are interested. So that's how I'm building these days, or that's how I'm looking at new projects. I used to do a lot of work before I launch a new project. And then, when you launch and you don't get the results expected, you're thinking like, hey, maybe, this is not worth all this time that I spend was not worth spending. So at the end of the day, what I'm doing now is like I'm giving myself a couple of weeks running ads, seeing if the people are interested. And if they are, let's go. Let's do this project, let's do this product, and start selling. So that's my recommendation.
It is. It's much more better than ChatGPT.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm often use ChatGPT, but your recommendation, I think it's a very practical one and very useful. And again, when I'm listening you, I'm just, the questions just appear in my mind about your AQ22. How did you start that? How that idea came up?
That idea did not come up easy. I must say that we started that. Well, overall, we started working on IQ as a name, like as a company, about 2 years ago. And in the beginning, it was a health tech company. It had nothing to do with finance. The idea was about health technology, and then we spent more than half a year on it. Realized it's not gonna work, and then we came into the AI field within finance. But even till then, I think we spent around half a year to 9 months really to understand like what is the idea exactly. Like we did a lot of research trying to understand what we would like to build, and it takes a while sometimes, especially with like a really good idea. And then it changed. I think we changed AQ22 idea for like 6 times, at least 6 times. And you would have to start from the beginning every time. Some changes were smaller, but some changes were huge, like let's say from one industry to another. So it started, yeah, pretty in a much more difficult, hard way. Now we are building AQ22 for as a credit intelligence for private credit for projects that are being financed in the US. But I must say, we had a very long path.
But it's amazing. It's always like this. That 9 months, it's like a baby. For example, even now, I have one idea which I'm trying on which I'm trying to work, and that research, it sounds like a very simple thing, but that research, it has to be included market research, competitors research. You have to how or there at all the problem, or maybe you
Exactly.
just think that there is the problem, and it's a lot of things, but it's giving you the satisfaction, I think, for
Mhm.
something that it will born in the future. So this is,
Exactly.
it sounds like yours, you know, you just starting with one idea and you end up with totally different, and it's all right and very
It is.
normal way.
It is. And, it's like not necessarily as much on, sticking with that one idea and just rolling with it, even though you see it's not working, but rather exploring, being curious, being open, and really finding out what works. Because I do see a lot of like people fall in love with their first idea, they stick with it. And even now, like I see some startups and see how motivated they are. I see that their idea is 100% not going to work. But, the beauty in it is that they have to figure out for themselves and they have to figure out along the way when they're building it. And of course, stop it without spending 2 or 3 years on just the idea.
It's like with the advice, you know, for the friend. You can't give the advice until the person don't want that or didn't still figure out about that they need that advice.
Exactly. That's the whole point, right?
It is, and I think that behind every step there is usually mindset shift. So, what mindset shift made the biggest difference for your growth?
I think personally, that was probably the trips that I had to the US, where I really changed the way I see the world, because it's sometimes difficult to step out of your bubble. And even though, yes, I had many trips to the US before and to other countries and different conferences and people from all around the world that I could meet and chat and understand their perspective on life, on business, nothing really changed my perspective as much as truly being there and seeing that, especially I think it depends on where you have to be. It doesn't have to be US, but it depends on where you have to be, based on your industry. For me, the industry was there in San Francisco, so that's just where I had to be. And that really changed my perspective on how, the ideas are built there. People have the same tools, people have the same access, but they have the mindset that when they're building the idea, they already see that the idea is gonna grow, it's gonna change the way people work and do a certain thing. So they have a totally different approach. And they're not shy about it. So I think that was what truly changed a lot in how I perceive how businesses are being built, how people approach AI companies. And so stepping out of whatever bubble that is, like if that's a city or if that bubble is your industry people, and maybe you need to go talk to other people from another industry. So whatever the bubble is, that's I think what changes you the most. So it's not a secret. For the last more than 10 years, I've simply been messaging people until I stopped. But especially in the beginning, I think it sounds so simple, yet not a lot of people are doing that. But simply just messaging different people and inviting them for a cup of coffee was a strategy that I did for at least like 5 years in the beginning of my career. And yes, to some people that might sound weird. To some people, they would rather ask, why do you want to meet? Like, what's your intention behind it? And I would always clarify that this would be simply to get to know each other and see if we could be beneficial for each other in the future or in our careers. So I think even though a lot of people know about this, there's just a very tiny amount of people that's actually doing this practice and are inviting people for coffee or for a meetup, for an intro call. So that's one way. Another way is, of course, drag yourself into a conference, meet a bunch of people, use those conference networking apps, agree on specific time to meet. And then the third way how to build your network is through LinkedIn and just being active on the platform so that people can see your content, see how you are as a person, start to get connected with you, reach out, get you on podcasts. So that's, I think that these are the only ways to build new.
With your idea about the LinkedIn, somehow people just imagine that the LinkedIn is about the numbers of the connections, and not sure why they're not using that. For example, the recent experience I had that again, I was thinking, one day I was just sitting and it's like I need one thing, and I don't know the person in Lithuania who can help me with this, and just starting asking on the LinkedIn. Obviously, you just create a nice message or polite way that they don't think that you're a scammer or something. You just want to sell something, like always. But what I was surprised that people want to help you, and it's wonderful. And
They
I
do.
don't know why I didn't use that before.
They do want to help. And I think there's something about like the cultural differences of not wanting to ask and wanting to do everything yourself and not wanting to bother other people. But at the end of the day, like we do have to remember that all of these social media platforms are in the first place social. So the social aspect must be there, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, if you could go back and speak with your younger self, I love this question. I know that sounds very cheesy, but so if you can go back and speak with your younger self, what would be the advice for yourself?
I would probably say that the advice would be to be even more brave. I don't think I wasn't. I think I definitely was. And some situations, putting myself in situations where I was very scared of the outcomes. But being even more brave and trusting yourself, that would be the biggest advice. I think, especially in the beginning of your career, you're doubting yourself a lot. Just kind of ignoring that even more would have been perfect.
That noise.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, I think so. And yeah, we need to be more brave in polite way. Sometimes how we understand or how I don't know how we can imagine that braveness. It's like you have to be rude, but it's not about that. It's about different things, and you can do in different way according your values.
Yeah.
And this is which I realized probably not long time ago. Let's talk about you and your business. So where people can find about you, about your events, courses, maybe LinkedIn or AQ22. So please share with us.
I think the easiest way to find me and the things that I do would probably be on LinkedIn. So Kotryna Kurt is my account. And in there, you'll see both of the companies that I run. But I'm also quite active on Instagram with the same name. So definitely, if you have some questions or you want to reach out, you can reach me through Instagram or LinkedIn. That's where I live every day.
Perfect. We will be sure that we will share all information with our listeners. And before we wrap up our podcast, I love ending with something a little personal and powerful. So, do you have any three books that change your mindset and why?
I actually do. So one book is called Ego is the Enemy. And this book is a book I read at least once every few years just to kind of humble myself and remember that everybody has an ego and what an ego is. And it's more like a stoic way of looking at life and relationships, whether those business or personal, and how to be more down to earth and just be open to everybody, no matter your position, no matter what you do in life and all the other things. I think the second book would be CEO Next Door. This one is probably for the existing or future CEOs, but also for managers. It's a great book on understanding how leadership works. And it's a book of like practical situations that happen at real companies. And just like the author dissecting each situation and talking about what happened and why people acted that way. And then the third book would be it's a book called Range. And this book is close to my heart because it's a book that has a different view on people, and it's about people that are generalists. And most of the books are written for specialists. So, like how to be a specialist in this and that and whatnot. And now a lot of people these days find themselves in situations where they can do a bunch of different things and they don't understand why and if that's a problem. And so, this book called Range is a good one because it really helps, especially people who can do a bunch of different things, understand that that's okay and that there are people like you out there who are generalists and who can go into many different topics at the same time. So these would be my top three.
I like the third one.
Maybe some people will feel like that's also about them, you know?
It is, it is. If you could give one message for the ladies who will listen our podcast, what it would be?
Take that action. I think it's a very short and sweet message, but the truth behind is that a lot of the times those good ideas are in our heads. They come, they find us, we are in situations where we get inspired, and that's all really great. But the second part that's usually missing is taking that action, taking that step, taking that leap, going over to what you believe, being scared, but still doing it. And I think that's what my biggest advice is related with, because once you take that leap, you do find yourself in a very beautiful situation where things do work out and new things happen and you learn a bunch and you are becoming the version that you want to see. So that's my biggest advice. Take that action.
Amazing, truly amazing. And I hope who will listen will take that action. It doesn't matter what kind of level action, but towards your ideal self or the future self or 2.0 version of yourself.
Yes.
Katrina, thank you so much. And it was truly wonderful to have you here with us today. And if this episode spoke with you, don't forget like, share, or send it to a friend who might need some inspiration today. So follow Muse in Tech for more real stories, practical tips, and encouragement on your tech journey. Keep believing, keep building, even the small steps, and keep shining your light. Until the next time, beautiful souls. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, beautiful souls. Don't forget to like, follow, and share, and visit us at musintech.com. Until next time.